Heisenberg. You got one part of that wrong.
I found something.
What if Walter White met Dexter Morgan? A dangerous meeting. The room is dim, wrapped in plastic sheeting from floor to ceiling. Walter White, better known as Heisenberg, the infamous meth kingpin, lies strapped to a metal table, his glasses slightly askew on his nose. Standing over him is Dexter Morgan, Miami's clandestine serial vigilante, with a scalpel in hand. Walt's eyes burn with defiance even as a drop of sweat slides down his temple. Dexter's face is a mask of calm focus, but inside his heart pounds like a war drum. "I don't suppose you'll let me explain," Walt says quietly, testing his leather restraints binding his wrists. Dexter tilts his head, voice low and cold. "Men like you always have an explanation. Save it." He raises the blade, and bang! A door crashes open. Debra Morgan stands at the threshold, service pistol aimed, hand shaking. Behind her, Jesse Pinkman peeks in, eyes wide with panic. In this frozen moment, two worlds have collided. The Bay Harbor butcher has caught Albuquerque's mastermind, but the night is far from over. How did we get here? This is the story of an explosive what-if scenario. What if Walter White built his drug empire in Miami, crossing paths with Dexter Morgan? Miami, a city of turquoise beaches by day and shadowy deals by night. In this alternate reality, the criminal underworld of Miami is about to get a new player. Walter White, a former high school chemistry teacher from New Mexico, arrives under the radar. He carries cancer in his lungs and an alias on his tongue, Heisenberg. For Walter, this isn't a beach vacation. It's a chance to start fresh and build an empire far from the prying eyes of the DEA in Albuquerque. Walter settles in a modest suburban home in Miami, bringing along his trusted yet troubled partner, Jesse Pinkman. They set up a clandestine meth lab in a sweltering warehouse in the outskirts of the city. The product? The same notorious blue meth of unparalleled purity that once terrorized the Southwest. But in Miami's saturated drug market, new competition is not welcome. It doesn't take long before whispers of the blue meth reaches the ears of local dealers and cartel affiliates. A dingy Miami marina at night. Walter, in his black pork pie hat and sunglasses, negotiates with a mid-level Cuban drug supplier. The supplier scoffs at this mild-mannered newcomer daring to demand a partnership. Walt's demeanor shifts. Heisenberg emerges. "You clearly don't know who you're talking to, so let me clue you in," Walter growls. When the supplier pulls a gun, Walt doesn't flinch. With a quick chemical flash, a hidden vial of fulminated mercury in his palm, he detonates an unexpected explosion that blows out the supplier's windows. Dazed and terrified, the man concedes to Walt's terms. Heisenberg's empire has planted its first seed in Miami. With that bold entrance, Walter and Jesse steadily expand their operation. Walt's ingenuity and ruthlessness only grew in this new environment. He forges shaky alliances with Miami's cartels, undercutting rivals with his superior product and unpredictable tactics. Anyone who refuses to bend to Heisenberg's will meets a swift end or a terrifying display of power. A rival meth cook finds his lab burned to ash in an overnight blaze, traces of a chemical accelerant left as Walt's calling card. A gang of traffickers intercepting Walt's supply is found dead in their car, skin burned and lungs seared. Later, investigators piece together that Walt used a chemical weapon on them, toxic phosphine gas, echoing a trick he once pulled in his early days. Those who can't be intimidated or eliminated with calculated precision. Walt orchestrates these deadly lessons quietly, making sure Heisenberg's legend spreads on the streets. All the while, Jesse Pinkman struggles with the growing darkness of their enterprise. Miami might be new scenery, but the same nightmares haunt Jesse. The guilt of past sins and the fear of new ones. He spends restless nights in clubs on Ocean Drive, trying to drown his conscience in neon lights and alcohol. Yet, day by day, he's back in the warehouse cooking batch after batch of blue sky with Mr. White. Despite his misgivings, Jesse is loyal, at least for now. Heisenberg's wrath and manipulations keep him tethered. Walt assures Jesse, "We're doing this for survival, for our family. In this city, it's kill or be killed." But as the body count rises, Jesse's eyes betray doubt. Miami's humidity is heavy with the morality of their deeds, each casualty pushing Jesse closer to a breaking point. Meanwhile, the Miami Metro Police Department is wrestling with a new wave of crime. Bodies are turning up under unusual circumstances, scorched corpses, gangsters killed in what looked like internecine battles, and a peculiar uptick in drug-related violence. These cases land on the desk of Dexter Morgan, blood spatter analyst by day, secret predator by night. Dexter analyzes a crime scene by the docks. 4 men dead in a car, foam at their mouths. The official theory is a drug deal gone wrong, maybe exposure to some new toxin. Dexter crouches and delicately swabs a bit of residue from a victim's lips, phosphine gas. His analytical mind recognizes the signature from case files of a meth lab accident. This was no accident, Dexter concludes. This was murder by chemistry. That night, under the amber glow of a street lamp, Dexter's dark passenger stirs. In his neatly kept apartment, he pores over police reports and whispers to himself in a voiceover tone. Something new and foul is in my city. A puppeteer pulling strings from the shadows. He's dealt with cartel violence and drug killings before, but Heisenberg's case feels different. Methodical, scientific, and disturbingly effective. Dexter's intuition and investigative skills kick into high gear. He connects the dots. The burned lab victim, the gas traffickers, reports of an exceptionally pure blue meth surfacing in Miami's drug busts. These disparate clues form a picture that points to one man. At first, it's only a nickname, Heisenberg. The name surfaces in hushed conversations between junkies on the lips of a dying informant in the ER. Miami's underworld is buzzing about Heisenberg, a mysterious supplier whose product is as feared as it is coveted. Under the fluorescent lights of Miami Metro's forensics lab, Dexter muses silently. Heisenberg, who are you? And how many have you killed to protect your secret? His code, Harry's code, is clear. If this Heisenberg is behind these murders and won't be stopped by law, Dexter will make sure justice is done his way. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you for a small favor. If you like the content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, is it done? Great, thanks so much. As Dexter quietly begins his vigilante hunt, the official investigation also heats up. Lieutenant Debra Morgan, Dexter's foster sister and a sharp-tongued homicide detective, finds herself in the thick of it. Debra is relentless, chasing any lead on the spike in drug violence. She coordinates with the narcotics division and even gets a tip from a contact at the DEA. Blue meth in Miami means one thing: the possible presence of Heisenberg, a high-value target who eluded federal capture out west. Deb, never one to back down from a fight, starts putting pressure on street-level dealers. In a gritty interrogation room scene, she slams her palm on the table, glaring at the handcuffed gang member. Blue meth is flooding my city. Who the hell is bringing it in? Give me a name, she demands. The dealer, sweat on his brow, finally cuffs up. Heisenberg. That's all I know. Some say he's just a legend, but... Deb's eyes narrow. A legend? She doesn't believe in boogeymen. Someone real is behind this. She forms a task force to root out this mystery chemist. Unbeknownst to her, Dexter discreetly volunteers to assist on the forensics, ensuring he stays in the information loop. Brother and sister are now unwittingly working on the same case, one by the book and one off the books. Pressure mounts on Walter's operation. The police are closing in on distributors and safe houses. Sensing the heat, Walt becomes even more cautious and ruthless. Jesse, on the other hand, grows increasingly anxious. The moral weight of their actions on Miami bears down on him. After one horrifying incident, an innocent teenager caught in the crossfire of a turf shootout sparked by Walt's meth, Jesse reaches a breaking point. Late one night, Jesse sneaks away and makes an anonymous call to Miami Metro's tip line. He has information about Heisenberg. Debra Morgan, who's been practically living at the station piecing together the Heisenberg puzzle, gets wind of the tip. She arranges a secret meeting, not entirely sure who her informant is until a nervous young man in a baggy hoodie appears in the dim light of a closed beachfront diner. It's Jesse Pinkman. The diner's neon sign buzzes. Jesse fidgets with a cheap cup of coffee as Deb sits across from him, her detective's intuition kicking in. I'm not here to rat. People are dying because of this stuff. Because of him. You're not talking about Heisenberg. You know him? Jesse nods, tears of frustration in his eyes. I've said too much already. He'll kill me. He'll kill both of us. Deb's voice softens slightly. Listen, you're doing the right thing. We can protect you, but I need more. Who is he? What's his real name? Jesse hesitates, fear and loyalty wearing within. Finally, the scales tip. Walter White, he says quietly. He's here building his drug empire, and it's only gonna get worse. Deb's mind races. A name, finally. She recognizes it from the briefings. A chemistry teacher turned meth king, thought to be dead or vanished after an explosion in New Mexico. She realizes the magnitude. Heisenberg is in her backyard. Despite her shock, Deb quickly assures Jesse of protection. In that moment, an uneasy alliance is born. Debra Morgan and Jesse Pinkman, two people from opposite sides of the law, now bound by a common goal: bring down Walter White. Over the next few days, Deb hides Jesse in a cheap motel under police guard, keeping him out of sight. She doesn't even tell Dexter about this development. After all, she's not sure how her by-the-book colleagues or her brother might react to using a drug criminal as an informant. But Dexter has his own ways of learning things. Dexter, through his careful observations, notices a change in Debra. She's keeping secrets, sneaking out on calls, locking away files. One evening, he playfully asks, "Rough day at work?" She snaps back defensively, a sure sign to Dexter that she's onto something big. It doesn't take long for him to snoop in Deb's desk. After hours, with the cleaning crew as cover, he finds a hidden notepad. On it, scribbled and circled, is the name Walter White. Dexter's eyes widen. So finally, Heisenberg has a face. A quick search through criminal databases and a few hacked DEA memos gives Dexter the story. Walter White, former teacher, criminal mastermind behind the purest meth on record, presumed dead in New Mexico after a bloody drug war. Obviously not dead if he's here in Miami. Dexter now knows exactly who he's hunting, and he knows Walter is dangerously intelligent. What Dexter doesn't know are the details Jesse has shared with Deb, the extent of Walt's paranoia and traps, but he's about to find out the hard way. An abandoned industrial park on the city's edge. Late night. Walter White stands in a silent warehouse, having moved his lab after suspecting someone was tailing him. Heisenberg is nothing if not cautious. He's already noticed some subtle clues. A car that appeared in his rear view one too many times. Dexter's, though Walt doesn't know the driver. Or the fact that one of his henchmen never returned after scoping out a potential informant, courtesy of Dexter's plastic wrap and blade. Walter's instincts scream that a predator is closing in. So, Walt sets a trap. He leaves a breadcrumb, a rumor about a big meth shipment moving tonight at the warehouse. He expects whoever's after him, be it police or rival, will show up. And show up Dexter does, drawn by what he thinks is a lucky break via a leaked tip. As Dexter slips into the dark warehouse, he finds it seemingly empty. Chemical equipment lies scattered, a makeshift lab, recently abandoned. Dexter's penlight catches something on the floor, a cell phone. Jesse's phone, left purposefully. It's vibrating with an incoming call. On the caller ID, a name, WW. Dexter's blood runs cold as the warehouse doors slam shut. From the shadows, Walt's voice echoes, amplified by the acoustics. "I'm guessing you're not with the police. If you were, you'd have kicked in the door with a warrant, not snuck in like a thief." Dexter swings around, trying to pinpoint the source. Walt remains hidden. "So, who are you? One of Gus Fring's ghosts from the past? Or someone who's going to make the mistake of getting in my way?" Dexter realizes he's walked into an ambush. His usual hunting routine, carefully observing and striking unseen, has been turned on him. For once, Dexter is the prey. But Dexter Morgan is nothing if not adaptable. He notices a flicker of movement behind a stack of barrels and lunges, syringe in hand. A struggle ensues in tight quarters. Walt fights with surprising ferocity, driven by desperation and adrenaline, while Dexter's trained precision aims the needle for Walt's neck. Walt manages to knock the syringe away at the last second, the sedative splattering uselessly on the concrete. They break apart, circling each other in the gloom. Walt has a small pistol drawn now, hands shaking but eyes fierce. Dexter grips a combat knife, stance ready. Both men are panting. In a low, venomous tone, Dexter addresses Walt for the first time face to face. "I know who you are, Walter. I know what you are." Walt sneers. "Then you know what I'm capable of. You really think you can take me?" It's a standoff between two apex predators of different worlds. Before either can make the next move, fate intervenes. Police sirens in the distance. Unknown to both, Debra has triangulated Jesse's phone, the one Walt used as bait, and called backup, fearing for Jesse's life. The wail of sirens is enough to scatter this confrontation. Walt uses the distraction to dive out of a side exit into the night. Dexter curses under his breath. His quarry slipped away. He vanishes into the darkness just as Debra and a SWAT team storm the warehouse, finding nothing but an abandoned lab and the lingering smell of chemicals. After the close call, both men double down on their resolve. Walt is now convinced someone lethal is hunting him, someone who isn't law enforcement. A serial killer in Miami taking out criminals, he ponders, recalling underworld whispers of the mysterious Bay Harbor butcher who once plagued the city. Could that vigilante still be active? The thought that he might be on the butcher's list sends Walt's paranoia into overdrive. He tightens security, moving his family, Skylar and the kids, who had quietly joined him in Miami under witness protection-like secrecy, to a secure location. He also considers cutting loose ends, including Jesse, whose disappearance during that failed trap he notes with suspicion. Dexter, on the other hand, is frustrated but undeterred. He's tasted Walt's cunning now and prepares accordingly. Dexter's research turns up Walt's weak spot, Jesse Pinkman. If anyone can draw Walt out, it's Jesse. Dexter isn't aware Deb already has Jesse in protected custody, so he begins tracking Jesse himself. It doesn't take long for him to cross paths with Debra in the act of moving Jesse to a safer safe house. Under a moonlit parking lot, Deb catches Dexter, literally lurking in the shadows outside the motel where Jesse was hidden. "Dexter, what the hell are you doing here?" Dexter freezes, realizing he's been caught by his own sister. His mind races for a cover story, but Deb's fiery glare stops him short. She puts it together. Dexter's unusual interest in her case, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Deb's eyes widen in betrayal and confusion. "Don't tell me, you're the one after Walt?" she asks in a hushed, shaky voice. Dexter now faces a choice, lie to Deb or come clean. In this intense moment, he gives her just enough of the truth. He admits he's been tracking Walt off the record because Walt is too dangerous to slip through the cracks. He doesn't confess to the full extent of his dark hobby, but Deb's detective instincts fill in the blanks. This isn't the first time Dexter's gone rogue. She recalls the Bay Harbor butcher case, how Dokes was the convenient suspect, but now suspicion gnaws at her. Could her own brother? She shakes it off for now, channeling her focus on Walt. Deb reluctantly decides to team up with Dexter, at least temporarily. They both want Walt stopped, and they're running out of time. Walt is likely planning to flee or go deeper underground. Jesse, standing by nervously, agrees to help set a trap. He'll lure Walt into meeting him by pretending to want back in, claiming he has vital information or money to hand over. Walt, distrustful but unable to ignore the bait of loose ends, arranges a meeting in a secluded dockyard at midnight. This time, Dexter and Deb prepare together, albeit with very different endgames. Debra wants an arrest. Dexter plans for a kill. They exchange tense glances as they gear up. Debra checks her pistols and cuffs, heart pounding at the thought of finally nabbing Heisenberg. Dexter readies a syringe of M99 tranquilizer and a neatly packed kill kit of plastic wrap and knives, concealed in the trunk of his car, his heart pounding with anticipation of delivering his brand of justice. Jesse steels himself, rehearsing the lines Walt might want to hear to trust him one last time. Midnight at the abandoned dockyard. The air is thick with humidity and the salty scent of the ocean. Stacks of shipping containers create a steel maze under flickering fluorescent lights. Jesse stands in an open clearing, hands in the pockets of his hoodie, trying to hide how they tremble. Deb and Dexter hide separately in the shadows, communicating by whispering into small two-way radios. Deb insisted on being in the loop, and Dexter agreed, all the while planning to make sure she doesn't get in his way when the moment comes. A black sedan rolls into view and parks, engine idling. Walter White steps out, alone as far as they can tell. He's not in his usual button-down and khakis. Tonight, Walter's donned his Heisenberg persona fully, black hat casting a shadow over his face, a pistol tucked at his side. Jesse's stomach flips at the sight of Mr. White approaching. Walt stops a safe distance from Jesse. "You out here alone? That's either very brave or very stupid, Jesse," Walt calls out, voice echoing. "You said you had something for me. Well, speak up, son." Jesse licks his dry lips. "I have cash, tons of it, and info on the cops. I can prove I'm still with you." It's a shaky improv of what they planned. He holds up a thick envelope, filled with fake bills provided by Deb. I want things to go back to how they were." Walt steps forward cautiously, one hand hovering near his gun. His eyes dart around, scanning the dark corners of the dockyard. "How they were? Jesse, you betrayed me." His tone hardens. "You think I don't know about the little chat with the police?" Walt's informants had tipped him off that Jesse was in custody, then suddenly gone. It wasn't hard to deduce. Jesse's breath catches. The ruse is unraveling. At that moment, a faint clink echoes. Dexter, moving ever closer through the maze, accidentally nudges a loose chain. Walt's eyes flare and he pulls his gun, firing a wild shot towards the sound. Pop, pop. Bullets ping off metal. Debra, from another angle, shouts, "Miami PD, drop your weapon." Her cover blown, she stands. Badge out, gun trained on Walt. Chaos. Walt grabs Jesse, wrenching him into a chokehold and pressing the gun to Jesse's head. "Stay back," Walt screams, desperation in his voice. Debra freezes, two-hand grip steady but unable to get a clear shot. "God damn it," she hisses. "Walt, let him go. It's over." From behind Walt, Dexter appears like a phantom. In one swift move, he jabs his syringe into Walt's shoulder. Walt hadn't anticipated Dexter's near-superhuman stealth at close range. The needle finds flesh. Walt yells and spins, firing over Jesse's shoulder blindly. A tranquilizer dose plunges into Walt's bloodstream. His vision swims. He fires again wildly. A shot grazes Dexter's left arm, but he doesn't flinch, too fueled by adrenaline and purpose. Walt's limbs slacken. The gun drops from his hand. He and Jesse collapse to the ground. Walt semi-conscious and Jesse scrambling free of his grip. Debra rushes forward, kicking Walt's gun away. Dexter moves with chilling efficiency. Despite the searing pain of the graze, he helps Deb pry the groggy Walt off of Jess. Together, they pin Walt down. But instead of cuffs, Dexter produces plastic zip ties from his pocket and secures Walt's wrists and ankles tight. Debra's too focused on Walt to question it yet. Jesse scurries back, watching in shock as Dexter drags Walt's limp form upright. "We need him alive, Dex," Deb snaps, pulling out her handcuffs. Dexter nods coolly. Oh, he'll be alive. For a while. There's a darkness in that remark that makes Debra's stomach twist. With Walt subdued, Dexter takes charge under the guise of helping. He insists they move Walt somewhere private. "No time for backup. He's too slippery, Deb. We can't risk losing him again," he urges. Debra, adrenaline coursing, reluctantly agrees. They load Walt into the truck of Dexter's car. Mistake. Jesse, shaken and unsure what to do, is taken by Deb to ride with her. "We'll follow my brother and finish this," Deb tells him, trying to reassure the young man who's now in far deeper than he ever imagined. Debra radios in that they have the suspect in custody, but curiously she requests a delay on the backup. Suspect in custody. Need to secure scene first. It's a half-truth that she'll have to explain later, but right now all she cares about is preventing Walt from getting away or any more people getting hurt tonight. Dexter drives ahead into the night, his jaw clenched. In his rearview mirror, he sees Deb's headlight tailing. His mind races. This wasn't how he planned it, but he can still finish the job. He just needs to keep Debra from interfering when the time comes. And Jesse, he's a wild card Dexter hadn't accounted for being present. They arrive at an old shipping warehouse by the dock's end. One Dexter knows well as an ideal kill room location. He's used it before. He quickly sets up under the guise of holding Walt here for a moment, and in a blur of practiced motions, Dexter secures Walt to a sturdy table with industrial saran wrap, layer after layer binding the unconscious man. He slaps duct tape over Walt's mouth for good measure. Debra steps in with Jesse, and her eyes widen at the sight. Dexter's processing looks an awful lot like a murder scene in the making. Plastic sheets line the walls, and Dexter's got knives laid out on a metal tray. This isn't standard police procedure. "Dexter, what the hell are you doing?" Dexter turns, scalpel in hand, his wounded arm dripping a trail of blood onto the plastic floor. His eyes are intense, almost manic. "What I should have done a long time ago, Deb. Walt here isn't going to prison. You know that. Guys like him slip through the system. I'm making sure he never hurts anyone again." Jesse presses himself against the wall, alarmed. He's heard rumors of a serial killer in Miami who preys on criminals. Now he realizes he's in the lair of that very killer. "Yo, this is messed up. You gonna kill Mr. White?" he mutters, voice high with panic. Deb aims her gun at Dexter now, hands trembling. "Dex, put the knife down. We do not need to do this. I won't let you murder him." Her world spinning. Her own brother, the Bay Harbor butcher all along? It's almost too much to process, but right now she must act. Dexter's face softens for a moment, pleading. "Deb, you know what he's done. All those lives destroyed, including Jesse's, including who knows how many innocents. He'll never pay for it if we hand him over. People like Walt, like me, we don't stop. This is the only way." On the table, Walt starts to regain consciousness, groaning against his gag, eyes blinking groggily. He takes in the scene, Deb with a gun on Dexter about to kill him. Despite the fog in his brain, Walt sees an opportunity. With Deb distracted by Dexter, Walt works his wrists, inching a free hand beneath the loosened wrap. Dexter, one arm injured and in a rush, hadn't secured it as perfectly as usual. Tears well in Debra's eyes. "Dexter, please. You're not judge, jury, and executioner. You're my brother. This isn't you." She's begging, knowing full well it is him, but hoping to pull him back from the brink. Her gun is still raised, but her resolve is wavering. Suddenly, Walt makes a move. With a furious grunt, he wrenches one arm loose and snatches a scalpel from the tray beside him. In one swift motion, Walt plunges the blade into Dexter's side from where he lies bound. Dexter gasps, the pain immediate and hot as blood stains his light shirt. Debra screams, a mix of shock and rage. She fires 1, 2, 3 shots. The bullets hit Walt in the chest with dull thuds. Deb's reflexes choosing Dexter's life over the law in an instant. Walt's body jerks with each impact and then falls limp, and releasing the scalpel still lodged in Dexter. For a heartbeat, silence. The only sound is Dexter's strangled breath as he collapses to his knees, one hand pressed to the wound in his side. Debra rushes to Dexter, catching him before he falls further. Jesse stands frozen, eyes wide and face pale at the carnage unfolding in front of him. Walt lies motionless on the table, eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. Heisenberg, the great mastermind, has finally been stopped, but not in the way anyone envisioned. A pool of blood spreads across the plastic beneath him, mingling with Dexter's own drops in a macabre tapestry. Debra lowers Dexter gently to the ground, her hands slick with his blood as she tries to stem the wound. Her gun lies discarded. The threat is over, but at a cost she never wanted to pay. Dexter's face is pale, every breath a struggle. He manages a weak, wry smile. "You did good, Deb," he whispers, words almost drowned by the distant wails of sirens. Backup finally closing in. "You stopped him." A tear slips down Deb's cheek. "Stay with me, you idiot. We're not done. I'm getting you out of this. Both of us." It's unclear whether she means the immediate crisis or the larger revelation of who Dexter is. Jesse steps forward, shaking like a leaf. He looks at Walt's lifeless body, then at Dexter bleeding out and Debra crying. This is the final brutal fallout of Heisenberg's ambition. A mentor turned monster, a family torn by secrets, justice delivered at a heartbreaking price. Jesse murmurs almost to himself. It had to end like this, didn't it? There's sorrow and relief in his voice. Walt had been a father figure, a savior, and a devil to him. Now Walt is gone. Freedom for Jesse, but at the expense of so much chaos. Red and blue lights strobe through the warehouse windows as police units arrive. Debra knows she has seconds to decide. In a flash of resolve, she looks at Jesse. "You were never here. Go," she hisses. Jesse nods, tears in his eyes, and slips out a back exit into the night. Free, for now, carrying the weight of this night with him forever. Deb then turns back to Dexter, who is fading in and out. "Dex, listen," she whispers fiercely. "They'll be here any second. I'll tell them Walt attacked us, that I had to shoot. And you tried to stop the bleeding. You're the hero, got it? You'll be okay." Dexter's vision blurs, but he hears her. He musters the strength to squeeze her hand. In that squeeze is everything. Gratitude, apology, love. When the officers burst in, they find a scene that tells a twisted tale. Walter White, the notorious Heisenberg, shot dead, presumably by Lieutenant Debra Morgan, who stands over the body, her gun on the ground and her brother wounded at her side. Paramedics rush to Dexter, voices shouting and echoing. Debra answers questions in a numb haze, sticking to a simple story. Walt must have broken free, stabbed Dexter, forcing Deb to shoot to save her brother. It's not far from the truth, but it hides the darker reality of what Dexter had intended. As Dexter is lifted onto a gurney, sirens blaring, he locks eyes with Debra one last time before losing consciousness. In her eyes, he sees devastation and an unwavering loyalty. The cost of maintaining justice tonight came at the price of her innocence and his blood. In the days that follow, the story dominates headlines. Heisenberg dead, Walter White killed in Miami's Showdown. The press paints Walt as the monster he was, connecting him to the blue meth, the string of murders, even implicating him posthumously as the elusive Bay Harbor butcher to explain the unexplained vigilante killings, a convenient ending Debra subtly encouraged to bury Dexter's involvement. The public hails Debra Morgan as a hero detective who took down a kingpin to save her brother in the process. Miami can breathe a sigh of relief. But behind closed doors, the wounds of that night are far from healed. Dexter recovers physically, but the truth of that deadly collision hangs between brother and sister like a heavy cloud. Debra knows who Dexter truly is now, the dark truth he'd kept hidden. And Dexter knows that Debra crossed her own moral line to save him. shooting a man in cold blood and covering up the circumstances. They share a secret that binds them tighter than ever, but at a great cost to Deb's soul. Jesse Pinkman slips away into anonymity, a free man haunted by both relief and guilt. He starts a new life far from Miami, determined to walk a better path, carrying the lessons of Walt's downfall and Dexter's eerie form of justice with him. In quiet moments, he hears Debra's words or sees Walt's final moments flash in his mind, a permanent reminder of how close he came to the abyss, and that he survived. On a warm Miami morning, Debra visits Dexter as he packs up his apartment. They've decided it's best Dexter moves away for a while, to let the dust settle and so Debra can reconcile what she's learned. They stand in an awkward silence until Deb breaks it. "So, this is it, huh? You heading out?" Dexter offers a small nod. "Just for a bit. I hear Oregon is nice," he replies, softly, a half-truth. They both know he might not return. Deb's eyes well up, but she quickly wipes them. "Take care of yourself, brother." Dexter hesitates, then steps forward and wraps Debra in a big hug, something he'd rarely done unprovoked. "You too, sis." As Dexter drives off into the sunrise, he reflects. Fate brought Walter White into my world, and in this collision, everything changed. He was a mirror of what I could become without my code. Ruthless, unbound. Stopping him cost me dearly, cost us dearly. In the end, perhaps this is justice. Two monsters destroying each other's worlds. Debra watches the car disappear, uncertain what the future holds. She saved Miami from one evil, but discovered another lurking in someone she loves. The line between morality and justice blurred forever on that docks and in that killing room. She'll carry that night in her bones. The night Walter White met Dexter Morgan, a deadly collision that nobody will ever forget. In this alternate reality, justice was served, but at a steep price. The legacy of Walter White and Dexter Morgan's encounter is a sobering reminder that when two dark worlds intersect, no one escapes unchanged.